Moving engines, burning rubber, here we go. Right channel, where the passion starts to flow. Auto news, auto convo, we're in the know. Right news, right convo, let the time show. Subscribers on the rise, let's hit that throttle, sharing love. Every like is a bottle from coast to coast to coast. Spreading the hype at Ryde channel, we're igniting love. It's the right channel, where the pack throttle, sharing love. Every like is a bottle from coast to coast to coast. Spreading the hype at Ryde channel, we're igniting love. It's on the Ryde channel, come join the crew. Rev it up, share the love, making dreams come true. Auto news, auto convo, we're taking it far. Like news, like convo, no limit to who we are. Moving engines, burning rubber, here we go. Right channel, where the passion starts to flow. Auto news, auto convo, we're in the know. Right news, right convo, let the time show. Subscribers on the rise, let's hit that throttle, sharing love. Every like is a bottle from coast to coast to coast. Spreading the hype at Ryde channel, we're igniting love. It's on the Ryde channel, come join the crew. Rev it up, share the love, making dreams come true. Auto news,
Hi guys, so once again welcome to the Ryde channel. You know, on the Ryde channel it's all about cars and motorcycles. It's always an honor to have this opportunity to come to you with a live show talking about cars and motorcycles. That's what we do. That is our calling. Yes, we believe that your motoring education is very, very necessary, okay, for you to enjoy your motoring. That's why we come to you with our live shows. And last week we talked about the suspension system, and today we are going to look at another aspect of suspension system. Oh guys, yes, it's been an awesome week, and I hope the coming week will be greater. Okay, so if you didn't have a good week last week, don't worry. There's always another day. Okay, there's always another day, and it's going to be great. All right, and it's great that we are here, we are live, and we get to talk about cars and motorcycles. We are talking about suspension systems. Yes, a lot of time you hear people, they talk shock absorber, spring, and this and that, bushings, lower arm, this, that, yeah. So last week we looked at crabbing, and I decided to talk about crabbing last week because of something that I saw on the street, and I showed you a video of that. Okay, and today we are looking at another aspect of suspension system. So when we talk about suspension, we are talking about a system a system that holds the car up. Okay, it's a system that holds the car up, and its main function is to reduce the level of shock that reaches you as a human being. Okay, so that you can ride comfortably in your car. Without the suspension system, Charlie, the car will drive very, very, very badly. You can't enjoy your car. You end up you go somewhere and you get there with a very bad headache, because the car will be vibrating so badly that your whole body will be shaking, your brain will be shaking, and you're going to have a very, very bad headache. And so yes, the suspension system is so important. Now, every time we talk about cars on this show, there's one thing we keep saying, and we are not going to stop saying this. The car is a finely tuned instrument. Okay, every part of the car is there for a reason. Okay, the engineers go through a lot of pains to put the car together and make it work the way it does. So if you want to make changes to it, you should know exactly what you are doing. Okay, make you not just give your car to somebody, make you just do something. You say, hey, your car they do like this, I go fit do them like this, it go work better. No. Especially those of us that like the look to enhance. I mean, some of us we are never satisfied. Okay, we are never satisfied with the look okay, or how we get something from the shop. We always want to add our own touch to it here and there. Yes, you can do that, but you have to do it, with a lot of thoughts and knowledge, so that you don't spoil the car, or you don't end up making the car less safe, okay, or you don't end up compromising your safety as you drive in the car. And one very important aspect of the car, okay, is the suspension system. It forms part of so many systems that are found in the car, okay, the suspension system. And I'm saying that it is that part of the car that holds the car up, and its main function is to reduce shocks. All the vibration and other things, they are classified as shock, okay. So anything that will jar your body and make it move in the direction or in the manner that you don't want it to move can be classified as shock, and you don't want that as you drive along. The plusher or the softer and the more comfortable a car is, the better that car is. Apart from that, the suspension of a car also dictates how safe a car is. All right, because if the car does not have a suspension system, all right, it can actually jump off the road when it hits a very substantial pothole, okay, and you don't want that to happen. Sometimes it happens, and we're going to talk about some aspects of the shock absorber. Today we are looking at the shock absorbers, what role the shock absorbers play in the whole system of suspension. All right, so that is what we are going to look. Sometimes you hear people say shock, sometimes you hear people say absorber, okay. Sometimes you hear people say shock absorber. What it is, okay, what is it? Shock absorber. So as the name implies, it absorbs shock. Now there are two main systems that dictate how cushiony, if there's a word like that, how soft and plush a car will ride, okay. They are mainly the shock absorber and the spring. Now they don't do the same thing. They work together, but they don't do the same thing. All right, now the spring is responsible for controlling the up and down oscillations of the car, or the up and down movement. Let me bro faba. Is responsible for controlling the up and down movement of the car. The harder the springs, the less, the wider the range of the up and down movement of the car, okay. If the suspension is very soft, if the spring is very soft, you have very, very, very long movements through the cycle of the bouncing of the car, okay. Then we have the shock absorber. Like the name implies, it absorbs shock. When the car falls into a pothole, there is a very jarring movement, okay, and that energy, you don't want it to get to your body. You don't want it to get to even some of the components in the car. All right, so the shock absorber's job is to take that energy, all right, and convert it into other ways. When you study science, they tell you that energy is neither created nor lost. It is rather converted from one form to the other. Energy is neither created nor lost. It is converted from one form to the other. Later on, this particular definition will play a very important role in our discussion. So please note it down. Energy is not created. It exists, okay, by its nature in different forms. Now it is converted from one form to the other. All right, so when I take a pan, my kitchen pan, and I take a ladder and I hit it, boom, boom, boom. Me as a human being, how did I get the energy? Okay, chemical energy. I ate food, I gain some chemical energy that gives me the ability to strike the pan with the ladder. Now as I strike the pan, that energy is converted into sound, and as it's being converted into sound, some of it is also going to be converted into heat. So when you touch the surface of the pan that you are striking, you realize that there is some heat there. So yes, very, very interesting science, very important. It affects a whole lot of things that we do. So we are talking about the suspension system. So we've talked about what the suspensions, the shock absorber is. Okay, now there are so many different types. There are so many different types of shock absorbers that do the work that I just described. Okay, now like I said, they absorb shocks. They absorb shocks. They absorb shocks. That is the work they do. Okay, now how does the shock absorber look like? How does it look like? Okay, how does it look like? Before we go on, I just want to say, if you just joined us, once again, you are welcome to the show, and we are talking about the suspension system. My name is Eddie Poku. We do this every Sunday between 5 and 6. Today we're a bit late because, yes, as usual, there are a few things I had to do to set up so that we can have a very, very good session. Okay, all right. So if you are watching whichever platform, whether Facebook, YouTube, or TikTok, you can send us your questions, your contributions to the topic. I mean, lots of you have very, very interesting experiences and knowledge that you have gained over the years as you use cars. So I know that lots of you have things to share that will benefit all of us. So share. That's our WhatsApp number, our WhatsApp platform number, 0204684798. With this number, you can call into the show. With this number, you can text on WhatsApp. You can send normal text messages. You can record your voice and send it to our WhatsApp number, and we shall share it, and we will discuss. Okay, there's a classroom. I'm not standing here on a pulpit preaching. Okay, it's more of a classroom, so it's very interactive. So let your voice be heard on the Ryde channel. 0204684798. 0204684798. My name is Eddie Poku. We are talking about the suspension system. To be precise, we are talking about the shock absorber. Okay, now you can always go to our website. www.ridechannel.com. www.ridechannel.com. We have a lot of stories about cars, about motorcycles, about driving, and a whole lot of things. So please go and read. If you see anything interesting there, please share. You can also follow us on all the platforms as well as on social media. We shall be sharing some things from now. Our WhatsApp platform is also open to join. Let us get interactive. Let's chat. Let's create a good community. Motoring education for trouble-free motoring experience. That is what I always say. If you have a lot of knowledge, if you know things plenty about cars and motorcycles, you go enjoy your experience. If you don't know, you go cry. The car go mess you up. Your motorcycle go mess you up where you go cry. Mechanics go mess you up big time where you go cry. Okay, and we don't want that to happen. I have a whole lot of experts, mechanics, engineers, that I bring on this show from time to time. Today I'm the only one here doing the talking, yes, but sometimes we bring them in to do justice to the topic. So there's a lot to gain. So please make sure you are tuned in and plugged into this community of the Ryde channel. We also have a lot of interesting YouTube videos that we have done over the years, and they're all available to you. Also on TikTok, we have a lot of interesting videos, informative, educational videos. Please make sure you watch and share whatever you find. And yes, we are talking about the suspension system. Now let me just plug my computer into it quickly and show you a few. So we've established what the shock absorber is, what it does. So the next thing that we're going to do is I'm going to show you some examples of suspension systems. Okay, suspension systems. So shock absorber. So we're going to look at some shock absorbers. Yes, so this is how the shock absorber looks like. Okay, so this is how a typical shock absorber looks like. So this particular one is this type is what we call coilover. So it has the springs incorporated into the shock absorber. It has a spring incorporated into, so you have the springs, and you have the shock absorber is actually what is inside in the middle part. Okay, and these portions of it are the parts that you use to mount it to the components of the car. All right, so this is a diagram showing shock absorbers. Okay, showing a shock absorber. So it's showing most shock absorbers contain oil. Okay, it contains oil. All right, now the oil creates a pressure inside it. So when the car falls into a pothole or goes over a bump, that energy that the tire takes in is goes through the shock absorber. So you see this particular thing here that looks like a plunger. Okay, it goes in based on the energy, it pushes in. All right, then the oil will push it out. Okay, so there's oil and there's high pressure gas. There's oil and high pressure gas, so the two are always pushing each other away. All right, so when that happens, it absorbs the energy, okay, and prevent it from impacting the rest of the car and subsequently getting to you, the person driving in the car. So here you have an interactive diagram, okay, of 4 different kinds of suspension shock absorbers and how they work. So so you see that as it's coming down, you see these arrows. It shows how the oil in it moves from one chamber to the other. Okay, depending on what kind of oil, depending on the design, okay, it will control how quickly or how slowly the oil moves around to cushion the ride. Okay, so basically that is how the shock absorber works. Very interesting science. Okay, very interesting science. Now, a lot of the complicated things that we see in the car look complicated and everything, but how they actually work usually are very simple. The ideas behind them are very simple. Sometimes in getting it to work the way they work is a bit complicated, and our cars are pretty complicated. In order to get the car, sometimes people say that they don't build them the way they used to. Sometimes I say it myself, but the bottom line is this. If you want to enjoy cars, okay, in the way they are, all right, properly, you want to enjoy them, you want them to be reliable, okay, a lot of systems need to come together. Okay, and these days another thing that affects the way cars are built are the emissions and all these hula baloo that has been going on. I wouldn't say hula baloo, a lot of these emissions, discussion about emissions, very important stuff, and yes, because of that, cars have to be designed in a certain way, and it's very important. Yes, if you just joined us, my name is Eddie Poku. We are talking about suspension system. Today we are focusing on the shock absorber. So basically, yes, so let's jump to the issues that are related to the shock absorber, the issues that are related to the shock absorber. So yes, every car has a shock absorber, most cars. Okay, apart from the shock absorber, the spring kind, what we call the coilover type of suspension, the other types of suspension, if you are familiar with articulated tracks or pickup trucks, for example, you see that there are some long things under the car where the tires are, okay, that it uses to, that is a kind of spring. We call that leaf spring. It is not like the coil spring that we saw. It's not like this kind of coil spring. Let me put it up for you. It is not like this type of spring. Okay, it is not like this type of spring. It's called leaf spring. It's like metal bars stacked one on top of the other. That is also a kind of spring. Usually you find that in pickup trucks and articulated trucks and all manner of trucks. You find them in. Sometimes you might find them in cars, but it's very rare that you see them. Usually the very old cars. Modern cars, usually they use something very similar to this. Another example, another type of shock absorbers that are found in modern cars is what we call the pneumatic suspension or air suspension. I know they're in Framande womb. Some people say airbag. Okay, yes, they are. Okay, they are like a plastic expandable container that the car fills with air. So the car has a tank and has an air pump, so it compresses the air into the tank, and at different settings the car fills those bags in the suspension system. It fills them with air, so basically you are riding on a pillow of air. So you find them on the very expensive cars, and they are really, really, really expensive, and the technology is also a bit complicated, and they have their weaknesses. And yes, but these days they are far, far better because technology has improved, and you find them on most modern, expensive, luxurious cars, because yes, it feels like luxury. Okay, all right, yes. So let's look at the issues with our suspension systems. The shock absorber itself can go bad. How does it go bad? Now let me go back to the diagram. Okay, let me go back to the diagram. So this portion of the shock absorber, where it pushes the fluid around, okay, it with time it gets worn out. There are things here that prevent that oil in it from coming outside. Okay, so it wears out and the oil will flow outside. It will leak, and when it leaks, there is nothing to absorb the energy. So you realize that your shock absorber is not doing what it usually. It happens very slowly. Okay, usually happens very slowly. So if you don't maintain your car well, okay, if you don't some people think that maintaining your car is just oil change and filter and air filter. Okay, if you have that mindset, then by now your shock absorbers die long time. Yes. Okay, one thing is that is one of the reasons why we don't like German cars, because German cars, the mentality that they used to build the cars is totally different. Okay, and so they are highly dependent on maintenance. If you don't maintain them well, you say the car no good. Meanwhile, you know they maintain the car well. Okay, that is not to mean that other kinds of cars can go on well without maintenance. Maintenance is very, very important. Okay, so yes, so as part of your maintenance, you should your mechanic, if he's what its source, if you check under the car, then if you look around your shock absorbers, if you see this shock absorber, right, has oil around it, that looks as if the oil has leaked around it. It means that the seals are worn. Because the seals are worn, the oil is leaking out. When that happens, it cannot absorb the energy, so your suspension system will only be riding on the springs. Okay, it will only be riding on the springs. When that happens, you see that anytime the car goes into hits a bump, it will be springing like that for a long time before it settles. It is not good. It is not safe. Okay, it is not. Apart from sometimes the up and down the car will be doing like that. It will cause people to get motion sickness. Okay, if people did the car inside, it will make them get motion sickness. It makes the ride uncomfortable. All right. Yes, and it's not good, because when you are going on a rough surface and you only have the springs suspending the car will be jumping, and if you are not careful, you will go into a ditch, and you don't want that. That we talked about that last week. Very, very, very important. So the shock absorber is so important. So important, and you don't want it to yes, when it wears out, it leaks out, you change it. Sometimes some of them are repairable, but these days most of them you just have to throw them away and buy a new set. You just have to throw them away. I mean, usually they last a very, very long time. They last a very long time. But that said, your driving habits can also make the shock absorber, wear out very, very quickly. If you are one of those people who they drive when you see the potholes, boom 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 boom, go slow down, then go through it. Your shock absorber is going to wear out very, very, very fast. Okay, and if you also get the car involved in an accident, okay, where the chassis, undercarriage of the car is affected, sometimes you might not see it, but this pole in the middle of the shock absorber, it can bend. Okay, because it is usually covered, you will not see it, but it will bend. But what you realize, if you are very observant, you realize that the car does not compress when the car, you see when when the car goes down like this. Let's say you sit on the car or you press the car down, it should go down small, then gradually it comes up. When it goes fast and comes up fast, there's something very, very wrong with your car. It means your shock absorber is not doing its work. Okay, it should go down gently and come up gently. If you press it and it just bam, 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 your shock absorbers are not working. Now, if you press it too and it doesn't move, go home. So, if you press the car, try to compress the car like that, and it doesn't move at all, that one too is serious. It means that your shock absorber is totally gone, okay, and your spring too is totally gone. So there is no movement, and that is dangerous, because what happens is that when you hit bumps, the whole energy is going to be transferred through the car, through the components of the car, through your seat and through your body, and sometimes it can affect the chassis and make the whole car wobble around on the road, which is dangerous. Now, when you are braking, the car has to I've forgotten the term. When I remember, I will tell you. When you are braking, the car has to squat a little bit. When you are braking, the car itself has to squat. It helps the braking system of the car to be more effective. It has to squat a little bit, not too much. It has to squat a little bit. Okay. Now, if it's not doing that, that is a shock absorber that allows that to happen. And if that is not working, the brakes are not going to be effective, and a whole lot of things can go wrong. And we want you alive. I mean, what is the essence of a car if it's going to kill you? Okay. What's the essence of a car if it's going to kill you? All right, and you don't want that to happen. So please again, yes, maintain your shock absorbers. Check them. If they are worn out, replace them. And when you are buying, please take your time, search, and make sure you get a brand. There are some things I can say you can get away with buying used. Okay, the shock absorber is not one of those things. If you want to change your shock absorber, you have to buy new. Okay, if you want to change your shock absorber, you want to buy new. So please, and unfortunately for us, a whole lot of people are selling reconditioned shock absorbers, and they usually don't do them very, very, very well. So please, yes, if your shock absorbers are bad, they leak, yes, you have to. Some cars use very expensive shock absorbers. If you are driving some of these, pickup trucks that have high riding height and things, they have very, very, very complicated, high bypass shock absorbers, and very complicated, very expensive suspension systems. And yes, they are pretty expensive. So if you want to buy a car and you go out to the carport and you see some car there, Jeep engine and naso, their shock absorbers are kese, mind you, when that thing goes bad, it will cost you a pretty penny. So if you are not really going to be using the car for what those shock absorbers are for, you are better off buying the standard ones, which usually are far more. Those expensive suspension systems are for enthusiasts who use the car for very, 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 very extreme sports. Those who take you off-road, drive at very high speed. If you are not going to do that, you don't need that kind of suspension system. Don't tell me that you live at Agbawe and your road is bad. Me too, I stay at Agbawe. You don't need that shock suspension to drive a car on the Agbawe road. When it goes bad, it will cost you a lot. And because the car has been modified, getting the components here in Ghana, especially as you are not an enthusiast, it will become very complicated. So that is one tip for you. If you go out shopping for a car, please usually buy the ones that have standard things, unless you are into that. So you know exactly what they are. You know where to source your parts when they go wrong. Okay, if you know be so the Amasa, you go whip. You go buy the car if the suspension spoil and you go hear the price, you go whip. And I don't want to make you go weep. I want you to enjoy your car. That is what it is about. You have to enjoy the car. The car has to serve you. Sometimes you buy a car, you use the car, and yes, I remember my first car, 1988 Honda Civic. And when I saw the car and I called the number, the lady the owner of the car asked me to hang up those days, and that she will call me back. And when she called me back, Charlie, this woman was saying, Charlie, this car has served me well, and I bought this car, and I've used it like this, and I've done this, and and the car has served. You see that she was happy with what she had bought, and she was so confident that she's gotten her money's worth of enjoyment from the car. Yes, and that is what it is. If you are out there shopping for a car and you do it advisedly, okay, you don't just go out there and just use your heart to buy a car. Hey, Charlie, car with them, feel. Yeah. Some kind of the cars, they are nice, but as to whether it will help you, it's a different conversation altogether. It's a different conversation altogether. That is why you have the Ryde channel. We give you the information that will enhance your motoring experience. That's what we're about over here. If you have any questions, please fire them to our WhatsApp line. Okay, 020-468-4798, 020-468-4798. You can send us a voice message, you can call, and we have the equipment here to put you on air live, okay, for so that we can have a very fruitful discussion. So that is if the shock absorber is bad, please change it. If the shock absorber is bad, please change it, and take your time and look for high quality components. Don't compromise. You see, some of the things you can, like I mentioned earlier, you can skimp. Sorry for the noise. Some of the things you can skimp and then buy used ones, reconditioned ones, but the suspension or the shock absorber is not one of those things. The shock absorber is not one of those things. Okay, you cannot, please, and I'll say it again, you cannot. Okay, and usually when you are changing the shock absorbers, you have to change all the bushings that hold it to the car. You have to change the bushings as well. Very, 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 very important. There are a few questions in the console. Yes, so somebody is asking, how can I tell if my car suspension needs repair? Okay, all right. Okay, so these are some of the things. Okay, so like I mentioned, the ride becomes very, very, very bad if it's the car is bouncing, oscillating too many times. It means the shock absorbers is not doing what it does. Okay, it means that the car is riding on the springs, and with time the spring can break. Actually, the spring can break. Okay, the spring can break, and you don't want that. Yes, yeah. So my colleague here, Salom, who is not on the show today, sent a message, very interesting message. Yes, Salom is an auto engineer, disguising himself and walking around parading himself as a finance person. When I get money and I build my company, I go employ him full time. Make no worry, very soon we go get there. And that's why you have to support this channel. We can employ people full time to work for us, so that you'll be controlling all the equipment. Today I'm alone here in the studio. Yes, so so that is it. When the car is bouncing around riding on springs, gone, it's bad. Okay, you have to change it. Another thing is that it affects the way your alignment works. We spoke about alignment last week when we talked about crabbing. Okay, so your tires, for example, will wear out unevenly. When I say your tires, they wear out unevenly, it means that you will see the tire, one side of the tire chop. Okay, one side of the tire chop, one no chop. Sometimes you will see one particular tire on the car, they chop plenty, the other ones no they chop like that. It's a sign that your suspension is your shock absorber is worn. Another sign be when you are braking, you step on the brake hard and the car pushes or is pulling to one side. Okay, when you brake, the car pulls to one side. It's also an example. Or it's also one of the symptoms. Another thing too is that when you are driving and you let go of the steering wheel for a few seconds, which I don't advise you do. Okay, you realize the car they go. If you leave the steering wheel, the car is supposed to go in a straight direction. Okay, especially if the road is very flat. Okay, but if you do that and the car starts gradually veering to the left or to the right, it's also an example that you have to check your suspension system. Yes, I've mentioned bouncing. Okay, then sometimes too, if you hit bump, you hear serious knocking sound. If the shock absorber is gone and all the fluid is gone out, there's no gas in it, whatever, it's totally worn, you will definitely hear your car, a lot of clanks and a lot of noise under the car when you hit bumps. Okay, when you hit bumps, okay, and you hear a lot of squeaking, and it means that, Charlie, your shock absorber is gone. So please, those are the symptoms. Okay, all right. So somebody's asking, how often should I check my suspension system? How often? Okay, all right. Now, manufacturers say between 20,000 to 30,000 miles, every 20,000 miles. Okay, so as you watch your odometer, anytime you catch 20 or 30, all right. Yes, I will say anytime you go for maintenance and the mechanic goes under your car, he should look at it. He can just take a torchlight. In fact, every mechanic you should have a torchlight. You just shine it under the wheel wells where you have the shock absorber and the spring, and look at them and look at them and look at them. And Ghana, some of the potholes, Charlie, if you fall inside, then one time, bah, then your shock absorber is gone, or your spring can break. It's metal, but it can break. Okay, it can break, and you don't want that. Okay, what are the consequences of driving with a faulty suspension? All right, okay. So like I mentioned, your car will have very, 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 very poor handling. Okay, then when you are driving and you turn the car will be leaning so much, it becomes very uncomfortable for passengers. And sometimes some of the passengers can even get motion sickness because of how the whole car is leaning around. It's not good and it's unsafe. Okay, like I mentioned earlier, it affects your braking, and you don't want that. Okay, affects your braking, and you don't want that. So please let us take notice of all these things. Very, very, very important information we are sharing today on the show. You can join the conversation 020-468-4798, 020-468-4798. Let me see if there are any questions on the console, on the WhatsApp console. No questions yet. Yes. So let's continue. Yes. Okay. So can I replace my car suspension component myself? Okay. Yes and no. Okay, yes and no. Yes, if you have all the tools and you know exactly what to do. Okay, these days a lot of DIY information online. If you have manuals or repair manuals, there's a difference between a manual and repair manual. Okay, some people, when they buy the car, they go out and buy repair manual. So all the information you need to do it is there. But there is another issue. You need tools. Then some of the things, especially when it comes to things like suspension, there are several tools that you need, and usually you need more hands. Okay, usually you need more hands. So I would say that if as much as possible, if you can get a professional to do it, and you are going to help him because you like to do it, fine. But it's not something that is very easy for a DIY person to do. Okay, you need a lift because you have to lift up the car. Okay, then you need another lift that will lift the tire out and take the tension off the springs and the shock absorber so that you can take it off. All right, and something like the spring, you need there's a special tool for compressing springs. Okay, if you don't have that and you go and joke around springs, it can really injure you, and you don't want that. Okay, so please let's take notice of this. Let's take notice of this. All right, so yes. So yes, that is suspension system. We are talking about the shock absorber. Like I mentioned, that there are some of the new cars, very expensive cars, are Ryde on air suspension. Okay, so you can press a button and the car will go up. You can press a button, the car will come down, and things like that. Very, very wonderful technology, very, very good tech. Okay, but there are things that you have to note. Okay, yes. So even these days, a lot of the buses, like these VIP buses that you travel in, to Kumasi and places like that, most of them, they ride on air suspension. They use airbags. Okay, and they have their advantages and they have their disadvantages. Advantage number one is that they make the ride very, very comfortable. Okay, when you are driving on some of these VIP buses and they are going on a rough road, they just go, you don't even feel it. You don't feel it because yes, the airbags, absorbs all that. But the downside is that they are much more complicated to repair and to fix. There are more components for it to work properly. You need the car has has an air tank somewhere. Apart from the fuel tank and all the other different tanks, there's a particular tank, that stores air, to always keep the air shocks pressurized to the right levels for the car to ride properly. If they are not working well, you see that sometimes you see that the car is leaning on one side. Okay, it's leaning, and there are other sensors that it needs ride height sensors that always tell it, the computer of the car which height every corner of the car is at. Immediately one of those ride height sensors goes bad, you realize that the car is not giving very good input, so the car will be tilting to one side, and you don't want that to happen. Sometimes the car can just deflate all the airbags and you see the car almost touching the ground, and once they are deflated, it also makes the ride very, very bad and very, very dangerous and very unsafe, because if you're not careful, you can deck the car. When I say deck the car, it means the underside of the car will touch the ground when you are driving at speed, and it can end up in a very, very dangerous, very, very bad accident, and you don't want that to happen. Okay, another thing is that I had in mind to tell you when this whole topic came to mind is that a lot of times when we are driving on rough roads, we drive at speed. If you want to be driving at speed, like I mentioned, there are special shock absorbers that are meant and designed to drive at high speed on rough road. Very expensive kinds of shock absorbers designed specifically for that. Okay, now one thing about let me put the diagram up again. Let me put this interactive one up. Okay, and yes, let me put this one up. And you see how the suspension is going up and down. Okay, now as it goes up and down, it absorbs the energy. Okay, some of the energy is converted into heat. Okay, so the suspension system itself heats up if consistently you are driving on a rough road. Okay, if you are consistently driving on a rough road, it heats up. Now when it heats up to a certain level, the oil in it can reduce, its effectiveness can reduce, and when it reduces, your suspension system will just fail. Okay, so if you are driving, maybe you are driving to some of these rural areas and you have long stretches of rough road, and because you think that you are driving an SUV, you just keep bashing through the rough road. Please, unless you have been informed that your suspension is a high performance suspension. Okay, that is the key word, high performance suspension. And with that, you see that they've done extra things to cool the suspension, special gas in it, special oil in it, and especially designed. And those, like I mentioned earlier, usually they are very, very expensive. If you buy your car direct from a manufacturer, you won't have those expensive suspension on it. Usually you will have to go and buy and get an expert to fit it on your car. Okay, and if you have any standard suspension and you drive like that, the suspension heats up and it fails, and when that happens, it can throw you off the road. And that is one of the causes why people throw their cars. You are driving, at the time you realize the car will just jump into some corner, into some bush, and you don't understand, what happened? Why would the car do this? This is an off-road vehicle. It's supposed to do this, supposed to do that. Yes, you are right, but you are misapplying the car. You are not using it for what it's meant for or in the proper way. Okay, it's a standard vehicle and you are supposed to use it. So rough road, take your time, drive reasonably. Don't drive super fast on a rough road. Standard shock absorbers cannot cope with the kind of pressure you give it. Okay, so whether you are driving an SUV, Land Cruiser V8, whatever car, so long as it's a stand, unless you know that you have bought special suspension for that particular kind of driving, please don't do that. You are risking your life, and the essence of a car is get you from A to B, number one. Okay, so safely, and you don't want that. You don't want to get involved in an accident. Okay. All right. Yes, thanks to all those who joined me on the show. Yes, so let me just shout out to the people on my TikTok people. I have Anthony Eku, I have Miss Lisa Samsam, no Kware. Yes, you have Leo, you have Louis Ochre, Sinam Makeover 6, Rich Kwe at 0242, Nana Kwame, Millicent, Entry Samuel. Yes, Janice is there. Yes, you have Captain Corte. Yes, Tabulu, Ekia, Nene Kwenote, user Richie. Yes. Thank you all for joining. Thank you all for joining. Please, you send your messages. I have messages. Let me check. I have a message on WhatsApp. Yeah. Where is the message? Where's the messages? Live chat. Yes. So where's the message? No, sorry. Okay. Let me scroll down. All right. Please share the message once more. Yes. Yes, share the message once again. And yes. All right, so we are talking about suspension systems. If you have any questions, let me see if I have some more questions. And yes. So talking about the things that causes the suspension to fail, and this is one thing. Usually when you buy home used car and the car is coming, you buy the parts, and some of your relatives will put items and you stack them in the car. Okay, sometimes even when the car is parked for a long time, you park your car in a garage and you use the car as a storeroom. Okay, you use the car as a storeroom. Please, that is very bad practice. Okay, that is very, very bad practice. When you do that, when the shock absorbers are compressed for a very long time, okay, it will fail. That's not how it's supposed to. It's supposed to be working. So it's not even good for the shock absorber. One thing about cars is that they are not designed to sit unused. So you buy a car, you put in the garage, and you don't use it. It's not a good idea. It's not a good idea. Yes, if you want to store a car for a long time, there are things you have to do to store the car for a long time, so that when you come back to the car will be in good shape. Okay, and one of these days we'll talk about that. Okay, yes. So don't park a car and put things inside. And some of you, sometimes you are driving and there's a car driving around, and you see the things they have. They have all their books from university at the back shelf of the car. Like there's a whole library at the back shelf of the car. Apart from the fact that it will make your car consume a lot of fuel, it's also bad for the suspension, because you are giving the suspension unnecessary pressure. You are giving the suspension, the shock absorbers, unnecessary pressure. Okay, so please, if you have to park a car for a long time, okay, don't stuff things in the car. Okay, if you are importing cars, if you are importing cars from Abrochi and you put things inside, that cannot say, hey. Some people too, when the car goes down like that, that is they say Charlie cannot say, and they're happy that the car is, no. Yes, Badman Nesto, thanks for joining. Yes, Nesto is my man. Thank you for joining the show, Nesto. Yes, so we are talking about the suspension system. Okay, we're talking about the suspension system. Don't load the car unnecessarily. don't load the car unnecessarily. There are so many things that happen when you load the car. So load the cars only when it is necessary, and even when you need to do it in a way that the car will survive. Okay. Sometimes, Charlie, you see the load way people they carry for car inside. Master, that day I saw a taxi driver loading things, and I felt for the car owner. I had to go to him and say, Master, dang, what has your car owner done to you? Has he committed a crime by buying a car for you to drive and pay him, and pay him money? I mean, how? You load the car so much, please. You see, apart from that, apart from even the suspension that can fail when you overload the car, the car itself is going to weaken. The frame of the car is going to weaken, and within a very short time. And you know something, if you are driving commercial for somebody, okay, and you treat the car poorly, the car will break down, and for some weeks, even you are a hot cake driver, for some weeks you will be without job. How are you and your family going to chop? Please don't do that. And whatever you do to somebody to do to you, and you don't want that. Okay. All right. So Salam has sent a voice note, and let's see. Let me see. Let me ask him. Yes, Salam is our resident auto engineer, and yes, he sent me a voice note. So I don't know the nature of the voice note, so I have to seek clarification from him before I go and play it. If it's for my ears only. Yes. So interesting discussion. Like I mentioned earlier, the show is very, very interactive. So I'm going to play Salam's voice. Yes.
Doors, like house doors in it, the wooden ones.
Let me.
A guy was running an Opel estate. I think it was Opel Astra estate. Bro, the guy was putting doors like these doors, like house doors in it, the wooden ones. And you could tell that actually he loaded the back so much, the front actually lifted up a bit. Like that's how bad some people don't take off their shocks. Like they don't care what they put in the back. You are right. The guy loaded the back so much, the front actually lifted. And when that happens, you realize that actually by the time you remove those things, before you know he's going to drive for a very long distance. By the time you remove those things, the shocks can actually assume they can lose its strength. So you realize that after a while, the car will actually now start looking like that. Like the back will be going down, it will be bent downwards, to be a bit lopsided. That one there, so the heavy loads in the back, and sometimes in the front, they're very serious things.
All right. Thank you so much. Yes, that was Salam sent the voice note. Sharing something he saw. He's describing how somebody was loading an Opel car and loaded it so much that area around the shock absorbers was bending. Okay, please, you don't want to be doing that. A lot of load on your car is serious. You yes, Badman Nestor says the Uber cars. Master, yes, Uber. When somebody books a ride and you go to pick up, and there are a lot of people, or they are very, very heavy set people, you have to find a nice way of negotiating with them and saying, Master, please, your number is too much for this car, and I can't do that. Okay, it's better for you to reject the ride, for good reason. All right, for good reason than you pick these things. Okay, then apart from, you see, the shock absorber, like I showed you, the top mount, the lower mount, they are mounted to the car. Okay, the top mount usually is mounted to the car, and and when you overload the car, okay, it's going to share. Okay, it up. And when that happens properly, so you get you get what I mentioned the last time. You get crabbing. Okay, you get crabbing when the car is going straight. It's as if it's going side. I have another video I'll share it very soon of a car that is crabbing, and this is not even Ghana. It's happening in the US everywhere. You know, and yes, so crabbing. If you load the car too much, okay, you are going to cause the shock mounts in the car to warp. Where they are, their positions will move. Again, if you drive high speed on a rough road, okay, it can also cause the shock mounts where the suspension is mounted to shift around with time. Sometimes it can be so serious that it can tear the steel that has been used. Usually these the shock towers and the shock mounts, they are reinforced steel. You realize that the metal in those areas, they are thick. Sometimes you see that they've bound some on top of the other. Okay, so they are very, 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 very thick. Okay, but if you manage okay, some people drive so fast in rough road that they manage to bend it. Sometimes it's so serious that it tears. You know, you please, okay, so this is it. No matter what car you have, so expensive. You see, one thing I always say, the fact that your car is an off-road vehicle, okay, that doesn't mean you should drive crazy on a rough road. Okay, now off-road vehicles are designed to go off-road, not race off-road. Okay, the cars that race off-road are specially designed. Most of the time they are just meant to compete in competitions that will just take a few days and that's it. Sometimes when they go one round, but they will change the suspension. And you want a suspension that will last 100 miles, 100,000 miles, 200,000 miles, and you want to drive like that. Please. Yes, if you have questions, please send it to our WhatsApp line 020-468-4798. This is the Ryde channel, and we are talking about suspension systems. You can go to our website www.rydechannel.com. It's all about cars and motorcycles, and we have a lot of information to enhance your motoring experience. Here we believe that if we give you the information, if you get car apo, it will enhance your motoring experience. You go fit day on your car game, and once you're on top of your car game, you get to enjoy your cars. It doesn't necessarily have to be a brand new car. I would suggest that if you're on the market for a car, as much as possible, buy a brand new car if you can. Don't skimp and say when you have the money to buy a brand new car, where you go buy home used car, there a problem. Please, if you can buy a brand new car, there's nothing like a brand new car. I will tell you. Home used car, how do you know where the car has been to? We have bought home used car before. If we get money, we go buy a brand new car. If you can't buy a brand new car, so you can join our discussion, interact with us, 020-468-4798, 020-468-4798. Join the conversation. You can also send us a message on TikTok, on Facebook, on YouTube. Yes, so we've been talking about the suspension system. Okay, let me put our website up so that you can have a website. Yes, rydechannel.com. Okay, all right. This is rydechannel.com. Yes, this is our website, so you can see we have very interesting information. Yes. Let me show you some of the information, some of the stories we have. Okay, yes, if you mean right. Yes, and that's me on the motorcycle, on that motorcycle. Yes, that's me. Yes, I tested the Panigale, and yeah. Okay, very interesting stories. Yes, some of our team members go for car events, and they share their experience with us as well. There are several car events that we get limitations too. And there's one story that is very, very important for me. I said Okada versus motorcyclist. Okay, Okada. Yes, a lot of times, for those of us that ride, it's very disheartening when people address you like any other Okada rider. Okay, so I wrote this story that there's a difference between a motorcyclist and an Okada rider. Very, very interesting story. So please go to www.ridechannel.com and yes, just look at the motorcyclist. Can you see the motorcyclist? Shiny moto, shiny jacket, shiny boot, shiny helmet. Wow, look, or sign or gloves ni bibiao. Then look at the Okada rider. Heno. Look out. Very, very, very interesting story. So please go and read. Okay, go and read and comment on some of the stories. Yes. If there, let me check out. Are there any other questions? And if there are no other questions, then we'll bring the curtain down today. Yes. Okay, so let's see what we've learned. So we've learned about the shock absorber. We learned that it's one of those important suspension system, and its job is like its name says, it absorbs shock. It contains a gas and oil. Okay, some kind of oil. Okay, and anytime the car hits a bump, that energy that the car takes in, okay, the oil in the shock absorber takes it, okay, and dissipates that energy into the oil. Okay, if your shock absorber is not working properly, then it means that that energy is going to go into the frame of the car. It can bend, it can warp, okay, and the ride is going to be very bad. Okay, it means that your car will be riding on the springs and it will be bouncing like that. And if you are riding on a rough road, it can actually throw you off the road, and these are things you don't want to happen. How do you know that your shock absorber is bad? When the car is bouncing a lot, it tells you that your tires are going to wear out in very, very badly, unevenly. Your ride is going to be pulling to one side of the road based on where the shock absorber is bad. All these things, your ride is going to be uncomfortable. So please note these things. Very, very important. Shock absorber is not just for comfort, it's for your safety. Like I said, when you are braking, the car has to move in a certain way. When you are accelerating, the car also has to move in a certain way. The diving and the squatting, very, very important. It shouldn't be too much and it shouldn't be too little. Okay, if it's too much, it's not safe. If it is too little, it is not safe. And it's the suspension of the car that enables all those things to happen the way the engineers have designed the car to work. Okay, so please, if you don't have the support of a dealer when it comes to the maintenance of your car, okay, or even if you are maintaining your car with a dealer and the dealer never says anything about checking your suspension, please alert them to it. Let them check your shock absorber, let them check your springs, let them check the bushings around there and make sure them all day where they are supposed to be, so that you can enjoy your motoring experience. When you have to go out and buy, I say there are some things they the car top way you go fit buy used ones, you go fit buy reconditioned one, but the shock absorber be one of those things. You won't buy brand new, and you won't make sure say you dey buy them from proper dealer, you dey trust it, will give you correct time. They have remanufactured for them to. Okay, now some people clean it for it to look new, okay, but the thing is very, very bad and you don't want that. So yes, if you joined me, I believe we had a great discussion. I just want to say thank you. Make sure you follow us on all platforms. It's been an awesome time. I love it. I love coming here to spend time with you every Sunday. The correct time is from 5 to 6 an hour. We will do well to obey our time, so please, thank you, and thank you, and thank you for joining me. I just want to say thanks. Make sure you join our WhatsApp platform, okay, join our WhatsApp platform and be part of this particular channel, the Ryde channel. Tell people about it. Share the link. Okay, thank you, and bye for now.
We're it,